Sip the truth, spit the hype, light the fuse and make it toast. We're calling out the nonsense on the health hype roast. Roast it, toast it, if it's rubbish we expose it. Gut gang riding, booch bottles coasting. Welcome to the health hype roast, kid, where your wellness gets slow cooked in motion.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Health Hype Roast, and today we are talking about creatine. Now, this is going to be a little bit different because I am a user of creatine, and I use creatine not just because I do training, etc., but also because on social media, that's right, I read the reports, I've listened to the influencers, and they say that if you superdose creatine, it's great for cognitive function. And I've been doing that now for about just under a year. The superdose, been taking creatine for a lot longer, but the superdose, and it has made me feel a lot better, especially sleep. It's been amazing. I've noticed a massive difference from my sleep. So, if you, like most people, you may have heard of creatine and you may think it's about for the gym bro wanting to look like the Hulk. And, you know, the guys in the string vests doing the weights. But there is a new wave of research, and creatine is now a massive £1 billion market. So claiming, and the big claims are, this isn't just a muscle builder, it's brain fuel. So like I said, fully transparent, I'm a daily user. I superdose specifically for my cognitive function. And for me, the lived experience has been night and day. But as you will have heard on previous shows, that everybody's unique, everybody's different. That's why we always treat ourselves as a petri dish. But as always, my co-host, my amazing co-host, clinical nutritionist, 150-mile ultra runner, James Ellis, he's also a creatine user. I don't know if he's quite there yet with a hype on the cognitive function, but we will dive into that. Because we also have another guest, Triple L, Laura Lindley, from the company called The Motivated Learner. So she's a complete newbie to creatine, but she has just told us before we come on that in a book that you've just read.
Yeah, I've got it. Vonda Wright.
What book is it?
She's an author in fitness.
So Vonda Wright's Fitness After 40, she's saying that all women should be taking creatine. So this is amazing because we'll ask James as well. But James, you know the drill. Talk to us about creatine, my man.
Well, I mean, first of all, I think it's interesting that you started the podcast off by almost like we're in Alcoholics Anonymous. You know,
like I'm a
my
user.
name's Kevin and I'm a creatine user, and this is my buddy James and he's also a creatine user. Well, there should be a creatine user. It's almost like we're dealing in something here. Well, and I'm also interested that Laura's actually doing some limbering up and some warming up here. So we're about to do some actual exercises. It's okay, Laura. We won't be getting you to jump around and hyperdosing on creatine
I did yesterday.
before we start.
But just to be clear, creatine is the most researched supplement in the whole world of all supplements. So even though I may sound like an addict, let's have a look at the framing. Go on, James. Tell us about creatine, man.
So it is one of the best research supplements in the world. Whether it's the most researched or not, I don't know. But there's thousands and thousands and thousands of studies into it. And historically, you're absolutely right. It was the kind of thing that guys down the gym would use, guys and girls down the gym would use to make their lifting more explosive. And for that reason, it did get this sort of like gym bro sort of like reputation behind it. But it's not just for big biceps, you know. There's new research that can push it into aging, brain energy, cognition, potentially mood, menopausal symptoms. So it's a lot wider conversation. So shall we talk a little bit about what it is? So it's a compound. It's made from 3 amino acids. You might remember, people have listened to past podcasts, that amino acids are the building blocks of protein. When we eat protein, it's broken down to amino acids. Those amino acids, come together and they perform various functions around the body. So it's made in your liver, your kidneys, mainly in your brain. This is naturally, about 95% of it is stored in muscle, small amounts of the brain. And the main job that it actually does, it recycles something called ATP. Now, you don't need to know what ATP is, aside from the fact that it's a unit of energy that our muscles expend when we do explosive exercise. So creatine helps that ATP come around quicker So you can do quicker, better, more explosive exercises, which is why it got adapted mainly by the gym community. And I would say that even today, the most research has been done on creatine in that area. So out of the thousands and thousands and thousands of studies, something like 95% of them will be in that area around what it's like, how it works out in the gym, or for fast, explosive exercises. So you don't just have to lift heavy weights. It can be beneficial for people who sprint, or footballers and hockey players and netball players who want quick burst changes of speed. That explosive action is where it hits its golden spot from a use perspective. Now, it's widened out beyond that, much further beyond that. Aging, cognitive health, menopause, all those other things that we just talked about. But that's still its golden sort of like working period. The most research is in that. It's in that explosive movements and helping recycle that energy you need for those explosive movements quicker. What does that look like practically then? Well, if you are in the gym, you might be able to lift a little bit more, a little bit heavier. When you can lift more and you can lift heavier, you can see better gains. Mm-hmm. So that is sort of like in a nutshell, what it's used for in everyday life.
So, Laura, before we come on, you were talking about how you've just done your first martial arts, kung fu, the different things out there, different disciplines. Martial arts training session yesterday. Would creatine?
Well, actually, because one of the things that we were focusing on. So I should also say I have a nearly 2-year-old at home, and she's my 4th. So I'm very much getting back into exercise and building up my strength again. And one of the things that we were doing last night is running between cones, left to right and left to right. And our instructor was focusing on explosive power. And I think I could put myself in the category of it's coming back.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's good. And good for you that, you're getting back into movement and explosive exercise after having a child.
Yeah, and also like lifting weights and things, because I'm now 40.
So creatine would have helped her in the gym yesterday, yes, with a caveat that she would have had to have been taking creatine for about a month or so, because your levels top up when you're supplementing it. And there is what's called a loading period where you need to sort of like be having it on a daily basis until you top your muscles up to a certain point, and that's when it's really going to kick in. Now, some people do that loading period quicker by hyperdosing. You were talking before about 15 grams that you're doing. We can do 20 grams, etc. The big challenge with that is that creatine's biggest drawback is that too much too soon, it will go through you like a steam train when it comes to making you go to the loop.
Oh, yeah. I had to build up.
Yeah. So people who do that hyperloading of 20 grams a day and go straight into it, that is a challenge for potty time.
Yeah. And it's not just potty time. Like, if you've got a stomach condition or like you have a dodgy stomach, sometimes it causes pain.
100%.
And cramps and stuff. So you got to be careful with it. There's also, while we're talking about like some of the things to look out for as well, because if you were doing, so for example, if you're doing creatine daily and you go to the doctors, there is something, is it the liver or the kidneys?
It's creatine kinase.
That's it.
It's.
I know this puts a lot of people off though.
Yeah,
because they say it's
it put me off for years. It wasn't until I read this
when
book.
you go to the doctors for a blood test, you need to tell them that you're taking creatine, basically,
exactly.
and then the doctor will interpret the blood test results differently, knowing that, because otherwise they might think you've had a serious cardiac condition.
Okay, so just on that, is it dangerous?
No, it's not dangerous at all.
We go.
It's the most researched supplement. It's probably the safest supplement that's out there. It's the one that is so cheap that it's almost beyond thinking for anybody to actually, supply you with a dodgy version of creatine. That doesn't mean that there aren't certain things to look out for. Yeah, you want to look out for creatine monohydrate when you buy it, because that is the most researched one. You want to look out for it to be micronized. Micronized means it's digested easier in the body. It's more bioavailable. Bioavailability just means that a food or a substance or a supplement will get to work on the site that you want it to work on quicker. And I would always say, look for third-party certification anyway. So something like Informed Sport or something like that, to have just done a check by third parties, just to make sure, has been the odd occasion where I've read about supplements that have come from out of this country, haven't been tested, and have failed a test of having actual creatine in them, or the right amounts of creatine that they stated.
Well, there's that big scandal last year. It was the creatine gummies.
Yeah.
It was like, it was all over the place. It was like, and the thing is, just on the third party testing, they did have a third party testing certificate, but it was from China.
From
China.
Yeah. You
exactly.
need it to be European
You
or
need
American
European,
based. Yeah.
But they did a test. They did their own independent tests on it, and there was no creatine in it at all.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah.
Zero. It was just gummies. So people were just buying gummies.
I mean, that's a challenge of the supplement industry all over there, right? It's pretty much unregulated.
Wild West, baby.
It can be the Wild West because the regulation comes about what they can claim it does on the label rather than what's in the actual
But that,
thing
I would
that
think
you're taking.
if you're going to take something every day for a period of time, I always do this as well, like invest a lot of time before, get as many recommendations as you can and research it. And then every day, for the next 10 years, you don't have to make any more decisions.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about creatine as well, is that, it's not I've used it, I've built up, I've got an infinite store forever. If you want it to work properly, you need to be taking it on a daily basis.
Guys, how do you take it?
How do you take it?
Yeah, because you said gummies, and I was like, you can do gummies.
I just get
so powder,
smoothies,
So powder, you can mix into smoothies, you can just dilute it with water, you can
put it in your coffee.
Juice. You can put it in your coffee.
Oh, so it's not like, when you have for anemia, like the iron sachets, and they always say don't have that with coffee, so there's no interactions.
Yeah, the interactions are kind of negligible when it comes to creatine. So 3 to 5 grams a day is the most researched dose. So most of the lion's share of the research, particularly because it is about this idea of explosive lifting, explosive movements in the gym, 3 to 5 grams, that's about a teaspoon full. 3 to 5 doesn't sound like a big difference. If you first start off and you go straight to 5, that tummy challenge can come in for some people. So I would say probably start around 2, 3, work your way up over the course of a week or two. Once you get going on it, the only thing you've got to look out for is if you are sticking to that 5 gram supplement and you aren't hyper supplementing like Kev does, that you aren't sort of like sticking a teaspoon in and coming out with a big heap teaspoonful, because that can almost like double the amount that you're taking.
Oh, you got to be careful. Yeah, I'm really careful with it.
Yeah, suddenly you're taking 10 grams, and if you've been used to taking 5 grams, that again is going to affect you. So it's just a case of taking it systematically and making sure that you're following the same routine on a daily basis when you take it.
Yeah. Just before we move on to the next part of the podcast, where I just asked you about some of the use cases I've seen. So just talk to me about ATP again. Like you mentioned it, and you said we didn't really need to know about it, but one of the things I heard is, and I don't fully understand it, but it was like the brain, like if you're doing like a massive endurance race like you did, 150 miles, it's like the brain requires a massive amount of ATP to get you through that.
Yeah. Well, your whole body does. I mean, like, running for 150 miles, both physically and mentally, is really, really taxing, right? And creatine research shows that it helps with both of those things. So ATP recycling is absolutely key. In a race that long, probably less so for keeping your muscles in locomotion, because there are other energy systems that will kick into being then, things like fat burning, aerobic oxidization, things like that will keep you going from a movement point of view. But yeah, from a brain energy point of view, ATP is really important.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you do want to know what it stands for, it's adenosine triphosphate, but nobody's going to call it that anywhere apart from it in the science book. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, cool. Perfect. Right. So at the start of the show, I talked about how one of the biggest impacts I've seen is from my sleep. Also, like if I've had a really bad night's sleep and I'm feeling tired, like when I have my creatine in the morning, it actually makes me feel not tired.
Mm-hmm.
And I've, as a nutritionist, do you see any mechanism where that is that actually a true like effect of creatine outside of like those things? Because tiredness, honestly, I feel like literally I woke up at 3 this morning and I feel great.
So there's lots of anecdotal evidence for lots of other things that creatine can can help with. There are less scientific actual studies into a lot of those things, right? So exercise benefits is definitely the most one. The most likely one that you might be seeing there is brain health and cognition.
I'm intrigued by that because it's funny that you're talking about creatine today because like I said, I've recently read that book and I was like, oh, maybe it is for me as a early 40s woman. And I just had always assumed, without knowing that I had that bias, that it was for like, muscly 30-year-old guys in the gym. I'd always assumed that. And now I've only just realized that, oh, actually it will help me. Now I'm starting to do weightlifting because I'm looking at, future health and aging and getting my body back after the kids and all of that. So I'm starting to do the weightlifting and I'm starting to do that fast twitch movement and things and the explosive movement. And also I'm a fellow ADHDer and just thinking, oh, I had no idea that it could do all of these things. It's quite exciting.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if there's any research into sort of like ADHD, but definitely general brain health and cognition. There's some fledgling research into that. And people are looking at higher doses, thanks to people like Kevin who's super dosing and, actually using themselves as human petri dishes. A lot of the bio...
Thank you for your donation
to humankind.
By the way, he's actually following the other influencers in that. Let's not make him actually the influencer that he's not.
Can I actually say what actually kicked it for me? There was a study where and it was a control study where people with Alzheimer's and they were basically there was a group Alzheimer's and dementia, and one group controlled had creatine and one group didn't, and the brain function in the Alzheimer's was, I think it was like 20% better or came back to life, and that's an actual study, and that's what was the .1 study that kicked off the whole creatine can be more for muscles. But it's still like that was one specific thing, and it's still now getting researched for all the
one of the challenges with creatine is that because it's already had a lot of money spent on research into the exercise benefits of it, is that there's not a lot of money around and not a lot of inclination to explore other areas. I mean, women's health has chronically been underfunded when it comes to studies, right?
Yeah.
And
I could do a different podcast.
Yeah, well, exactly, right? Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more. Most studies look at male interactions and then assume that women are just little men, and we know now that women aren't just little men. And so in the menopause space, where there could be...
We knew that for quite a while.
Well,
I know, I got to be... Who thought women were little men?
The people who are doing the research.
Yeah.
I mean, they took...
Patriarchy.
What I mean by that...
Yeah, I know. It was just the way you described it, little men.
I managed to get patriarchy.
Well, because what they do is they take the research into men and assume that it adapts to women. Often it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
But the challenge with that now is that, for instance, menopause, right? Studies into menopause are chronically underfunded, given that 50% of the world there or thereabouts is probably going to go through it at some point in their lives.
You show me the study where some crazy health professional decided to do menopause research on men and then thought it translated to women.
Well, no.
No, I'm joking.
I mean, the challenge there is that there isn't actually enough
funding, I'm sure.
research into women, full stop.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, most studies are done on white, middle-class, middle-aged men.
Yeah. And most studies are actually done by white, middle-class, middle-aged men as well.
Exactly.
Okay, so there is an element of patriarchy going on here. But, that is a different podcast that we're probably not going to dive into right now.
There's about 5 different podcasts that we could do from that. However, let's bring it back to the creatine. So, because I think that's a really good question, because it was one that I was going to ask as well, which is on social media, especially on YouTube, when it's women talking about how women need to do creatine, take creatine, it's very much talking about while you're going through menopause. So let's bring it back to that question.
Well, part of that is due to its cognitive benefits, right? So one of the many symptoms that women report going through menopause is brain fog. It's increased anxiety. It's cognitive challenges. And so the fact that creatine can help with that it works in the brain and helps the brain get energy and helps the brain fire better, that's the hypothesis that people are working on. It's not going to be a supplement that is going to absolutely sort of like change a woman's life when it comes to menopause. But if that woman is challenged by things like brain fog anxiety, whatever it might be, then there's increasing evidence, mostly anecdotal, some fledgling studies that show that it can help in that area. So
it sounds like doing it earlier. I'm thinking of, I guess I'm probably perimenopausal, not experiencing symptoms, but obviously it's like that's my next stage, and I'm looking at it and thinking, what can I do now? Which is partly why I'm in the gym and drinking the kombucha and coming in here. That starting now to build up the, what did you call it, like the reservoir, to build it up. So it's not like hitting and finding yourself in the midst of those symptoms.
Yeah. I'd argue that any woman 40 and above should be thinking about the next 10 years, because the next 10 years really set the stage for the rest of your life. And if creatine is part of that journey, then that's an important part of that journey, right? So,
and it's quite cheap, isn't it? It's a really worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, even the really, really good stuff, you're looking at a bag that has 2.5-3 months of servings in it. It's probably about 20 quid.
So do you know what? This is what I was going to ask you, because normally when we talk about supplements, like a rule of thumb is if the supplement is really, really cheap, it's probably not got the claims on it. It's like it's not been third-party tested or maybe all those kind of things, and you're not getting the doses that you think. However, creatine is the opposite way. I'm suspicious of creatine monohydrate that is 40 quid. 50 quid, because I'm like, well, no, this is one of the cheapest. Well, it's just branding, because it's like
caffeine,
and you see some brands selling it, and because I know it's the cheapest supplement.
Yeah, I've not seen it at 50 quid. The one that I buy is 19.99. Yeah, then I get a practitioner discount on that.
All right. You know what I mean? Okay, cool.
Well, like you get sales discounts on kombucha, right? You don't pay the full price that the rest of us pay for it.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't call myself a practitioner. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna just so something else that I saw on creatine, and I've never seen it ever positioned like this, but like longevity clinics that are all popping up now.
Yeah.
Now they're saying that they're prescribing creatine for bone density in seniors. Now, is that right? Because I've never seen creatine positioned for bone density.
Well,
what would that be?
Well, that's what I was reading about osteoporosis.
Yeah.
So bone mineral density drops as you get older anyway, right? That's a function of general life. Unfortunately, and I'm keen not to turn this into a menopause podcast, but after the age of 50, as estrogen declines, as a woman goes through the menopause transition and comes out the other side post-menopause, estrogen is absolutely protective against a woman's bone mineral density, which is why that 10 years before menopause, things like lifting heavy weights is really important, because the more muscle mass you've got, the more bone density you've got, the bigger reservoir you've got to take out of it when your body naturally starts taking out of it. So I would suggest that probably, from what I understand, the benefits for bone mineral density are going to come from using it in conjunction with lifting.
Okay, with the gym. Training.
Because as soon as you start doing resistance training, your bones, the cells tend to turn over. Therefore, you get new bone built. Your bone mineral density is better. You're less likely to suffer from a fracture. And that's an especially important benefit, like I said, for women who are more prone to osteoporosis than men are. Stats are 50% of women over the age of 50 will have a break due to osteopenia or osteoporosis.
Really?
Which is incredible, right? So half of women over 50, right, at some point in their life, as they get older, will have a break at some point. Yeah.
I've already broken like 6 bones.
I just looked at Laura.
I mean, Laura gave a big sigh then, right? But Laura's doing exactly the right thing.
Yeah, I was going to say,
that she should be doing right now. She's looking ahead to the rest of life. There's no way, and again, I don't want to rant about menopause, but there's no reason why the second half of a woman's life has to be any different from the first. In fact, it could even be better. Could even be better.
Yesterday at martial arts, she's 65.
Yeah.
She absolutely wiped the floor with me. She's fabulous.
Man. Yeah. But that's amazing.
It's up to the individual to make those changes that are going to help them benefit longer term, whether that be going to the gym, whether it be eating more protein, whether it be having creatine as a supplement, whatever it may be. Yeah. So,
okay.
we can all be doing more.
We can. So, we're coming to near the end of the podcast. So there's one scary side effect that I hear a lot about that puts a lot of people off. I know we spoke about the kidney, going to the doctors, but et cetera, et cetera. The water bloat. So a lot of people, you speak to a lot of people and say, oh, I don't want to do it because I heard that it just makes you feel like puffy, bloated. Now, I've never had that, but they call it puffy muscle from creatine. Is that, and it's always linked to water retention or something? What's going on?
So some people report that you retain more water. My experience is that if you have adequate hydration anyway, that you should be okay. I've never experienced any puffiness on it. None of my clients have.
So you recommend creatine to your clients?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, amongst a suite of other things, and everybody's individual, everybody has to make the choices. Not everybody can afford to do every single thing that they might want to do, right? So they've got to make choices based on their personal circumstances from a health perspective, from personal choices based on their financial position, whatever it may be. But I would argue that if you're going to spend money on any kind of supplement, spending on creatine is probably one of the good ones to do, one of the best ones.
You've just answered one of my questions because I believe everybody should be on creatine.
Yeah, I pretty much concur with that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get it from eating meat, so so it's worth saying that,
Yeah,
creatine comes from the Greek word for meat, which is kreas.
But I heard that you just don't get you would need to eat like a cow.
You would need to eat a lot.
You need to eat a cow.
Well, it's not quite a cow.
Okay, right.
But
I
think it's something like, to get the same benefits as you get from a spoonful of creatine, I can't remember the exact stat, but it's something like 3 big steaks or something like that to get the equivalent of 1 spoonful. Of course, if you ate 3 big steaks, you've got other benefits from it. You've got vitamins, minerals, amino acids, protein. So,
which is also good for your weight training.
Vegan.
Yep. So, well, here you go then. Say you want, because one of the things that we always talk about is like, right, so is it only meat that you get it from?
As a vegan, you're not going to get a vegan source of it.
Well,
I mean, not from food.
Yeah, so it is something you need to sup. Yeah.
Well, one of my questions, where does the creatine come from that we get in a bag that we buy?
It is chemically produced. Yeah.
So vegans can have it. So that, I think
that's
question, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, no, I just thought I hadn't even questioned where it came from.
Yeah, it's synthesized in a lab, basically.
Well, my question for me is, can I get this protein? Can I get this source? Can I get this amino acid? Can I get this supplement without harming animals? And if the answer is yes, I will go for that.
Yeah. I would suggest that you look into a company that is my favorite vegan protein supplement brand, which is called Vivo Life. They're very good. Yeah, that's where I get my creatine from and my protein from. So VIVOLIFE. And I'm not affiliated with them anyway. I don't get any sort of cut from mentioning them. It's just the one that I use at home.
He just gets his practitioner discount. We know, James.
From Vivo Life, I actually don't.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
Vivo Life, step up, man.
Yeah,
this guy's out here.
Yeah, I'm here promoting you for nothing, telling all my clients to buy you.
Practitioner discount.
You won't even give me a little smidgen of discount on my own usage stuff.
Oh my Lord. And I've just seen Laura take down your brand name. You know what I mean? Come on. I'll send them a harshly worded email on your behalf.
Thank you very much.
Can I just also, I feel like I should answer, even though I'm talking about it, and we're talking about it for women, I was going to say I'm an older mum, although I wasn't when I had my first. I just had so many. And I have done quite a bit of research and run friends who are medical doctors, and it's not advisable whilst you're breastfeeding because it goes through the milk, and it's probably fine. But again, like you said, there's not been any research. So I made the decision, even though I've got some and it's in my cupboard, I made the decision that, it's just a short period of time. Yeah.
But that's the same.
When she's gone, I'll start taking it.
That's the same for many other things, right?
Yeah, it's not just if everyone goes out and buys it. But if you are breastfeeding, do your own research.
Okay, yeah, concur. Yeah, good point.
There's an angle you wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we are into the final stages of the podcast. And this is where we get James's verdict on creatine. Is it hype or is it legit?
Oh, legit, 100%.
There we go.
Yeah, that's a nice easy one.
Yeah,
I mean, but we're lived in it. We both lived in experiences. So
probably the simplest. Yes, I think like everything else, you've got to combine it with the healthy lifestyle. So, if you're not exercising, if you're not looking at your diet overall, if you're not making sure that you've got adequate protein, if you're not making sure you've got adequate fiber, or if you're not making sure that you're looking after your stress response, looking at your sleep, if you're not doing any of those things, creatine's not a magic supplement, but no supplement is.
Yeah.
So you've still got to do all the boring everyday stuff that people are looking to hack their way out of. That is, for me, is key. If you're not looking at those 5 things, mindset, nutrition, movement, sleep, stress, then it's going to be a challenge. And simply taking a spoonful of creatine a day ain't helping.
Yeah. So I'm going to end on this final statement. Tell me if it's true or false, because I've been thinking about this based on the last episode we did on peptides. Now, because the peptide market, 146 billion, and it's only growing and growing, and loads of biohackers, what we were talking about. But if is the 1999 bag of powder, that doesn't sound right. Bag of powder. Creatine.
Don't know where you're getting your stuff from.
Well, you called it a bag, and I've never called it a bag of powder.
Okay, sachet.
Sachet. Yeah, let's remember our audience. So
don't take it on a plane.
Yeah.
Is it the most honest like if you had everything on the table, like for me, like based on the peptide conversation that we had in the last podcast, for me, I'm like, knowing what I know now about the ones, I would always start with creatine. That's the one. As a base, I feel like creatine just powers everything. Not everything, but
so it helps. But you could throw in omega-3s for brain health and joint health. As a macronutrient, protein absolutely is essential. So it's certainly one of the key ones that I would say people need to have. And because you're supplementing it as part of their stack of supplements that they're taking, because like we said, you don't get a lot of it from diet. You don't get any of it from diet if you're vegan. So supplementing it is key for probably most people in some way, shape, or form. Yeah.
There we go. Laura, thank you very much for being a guest on this episode of the Health Hype Roast and bringing in that new angles for us to discuss. James, as always, thanks for being an amazing source of the truth.
Yeah, try my best.
Yeah, and and that's it. This is another episode of the Health Hype Roast done. We will see you next time.
See you next time, guys. Cheers.
See you later.
Sip the truth, spit the hype, light the fuse and make it toast. We're calling out the nonsense on the Health Hype Roast. Roast it, toast it, if it's rubbish we expose it. Gut gang riding, booch bottles coasting. Welcome to the Health Hype Roast, kid, where your wellness gets slow cooked in motion. Cold plunges, detox teas, everyone's a wellness ghost. But we don't buy the nonsense on the Health Hype Roast. Facts over fads, mate, we're serving up the truth the most. Pull up a chair and sip along, we're raising gut health toast. Roast it, toast it, if it's rubbish we expose it. Gut gang riding, booch bottles coasting. Welcome to the Health Hype Roast, kid, where your wellness gets slow cooked in motion. From Mr. Miracle Cures, every claim gets diagnosed. We slice through all the bull on the Health Hype Roast. So bring your trends and TikTok hacks, we'll serve them hot, not toast. If it ain't real, it's getting grilled, consider that hype ghosted. Roast it, toast it, if it's rubbish we expose